Hiya. Okay, so I wanted to have a conversation with you guys and explain M&H, Bespoke Hairstyles, what we do, why we do what we do. You know I always talk about the small locks and that's what we specialize in. But I've just had a really interesting conversation with a client. And I thought, if I don't come online and have this conversation, it will be lost and you probably won't get it, the message. Or the message is coming through, so let me just quickly do this post. Okay, so an understanding of what we do. Our calling, thank you so much for the love. Our calling, our job on this planet, M&H, is to celebrate our African hair, is to showcase our African hair, is to show you that you can live a very, very successful life with your African hair, with your beautiful texture, with the water that touches it, that shrinks it, with the different curls, depending on the amount of moisture you have. That is our job. Now, we recognize that it can be challenging with dealing with our African hair, that it can be challenging. We recognize it. So what we do is, our calling is to introduce you to the small locks, the locks that enables you to have your hair matted in a neat formation, in a uniform formation, because it is neat when it's all the same size. It's neat. It might be fuzzy, messy, but it's uniform. Our job is to show you a way to enjoy your African hair in its natural state, but in its matted, locked form. What we do is encourage your hair to lock. And how we do that is in a healthy way, interweaving your hair within itself. The sister locks, the small locks that we produce, the small uniform locks, is backward braiding. It's backward braiding from the tip to the base. Now, we recognize that there are dreamers who follow us and really love what we do, but don't necessarily have a full head of hair. And their dream is to have the small locks, to have their own hair out with the locks, but they also are suffering from hair loss. They don't have much hair and they really dream of this moment of having their hair full. Our expertise and our calling is to service those clients as well. As much as you have a full head of hair or you have a little bit of hair loss, for those who have significant hair loss, our calling, as challenging as it is to service those clients. Right, sorry, I had to turn that down. Is to service those clients. The way we service those clients is through the Kinky Twist Extensions work. Now, the Kinky Twist Extensions work that we do is very, very specialized. It's very different. It doesn't look like Kinky Twist Extensions, and this is for people who suffer hair loss. It looks like you kind of have locks, the way our hand is. The way we do hair, when people ask us, do you do the bigger size locks? We say no. Because the way we part is what we're used to. And we do it in that way to create the fullness. And we apply that to the Kinky Twist Extension. But the rule is more of your hair, less of extensions per section. Rule number one. So sometimes when I part the hair and I hold the extensions, I know that's too much extensions. That's too much weight on the hair. And I will lessen it. What I won't do is try and make it full to satisfy necessarily that client's perception of what is beautiful. When we do Kinky Twist Extensions, we do it to match the texture of that client's hair. Because what we're starting to do is educate, encourage, and teach that client to celebrate their curl texture. With a bit of fullness, obviously, when you add the extension, that is our job. That's what we're trying to do. So, to be clear, we are not hairdressers. We're natural hair consultants who support our clients into long-term enjoying their full head of hair, whether it's loose afro or whether it's with the locks. That's the ultimate game. So if we had a client who said, I liked that hairstyle that I saw, and bring a magazine picture, I will say, we cannot help you. Because I cannot guarantee, I don't know how to copy. We don't know how to copy styles. This is how bad it is. If you told me you did that Kinky Twist Extensions and I like that look, I can't even replicate it, because I respond to the hair, what the hair wants, what the hair needs. And ultimately, even if I parted that hair small before and I see growth, I would part it a bit bigger and put less extensions, because ultimately I'm trying to show you how to enjoy your hair. And the work we do is very technical, and sometimes it's really hard to articulate. So a lot of the times I say trust, but understand, we're not hairdressers. We cannot replicate our work. We cannot replicate a style. We can only service the hair. We can only do what the hair needs and the follicles need, because for years, when people have hair loss, for years, what they've been doing is sitting in the chair and saying to a hairdresser, this is what I want. And the hairdresser, naturally trying to please and wanting to make sure the client is happy, pleases the client and what the client is saying. We don't do that. I don't try and please a client or what the client is trying to say. I try and please the hair. So a lot of the time I say to clients, when you accept our service and you sit in the chair, it is about complete and utter trust, because it's a therapy session to grow your hair. We're not hairdressers. We're natural hair consultants. We're on this planet to encourage our clients and all those who come into our way and come into our chair to enjoy their African hair. So initially, when you have extensions, it might look a lot more, because I've done it kind of small and I've put a bit more extensions. But as the hair is growing, the parting gets bigger and the extensions get smaller, less on the hair, because it's more of your hair, less of extensions. So instead of your hair looking fuller, it begins to condense, compact, but there's a bit of extension there. You still get the fullness, but not as much, because long term, when you want to lock up your hair is going to condense, contract right down, and you're supposed to accept and understand that is how your hair is going to be. No extensions is going to be added long term. Now, the process we go through is to ultimately encourage you into adjusting and staying open. Think about our African hair. Our African hair doesn't stay the same. When you put a bit of water in your African hair changes formation. What we're meant to do as humans who own this hair is to learn to be open to change and adjust, because our African hair is ever changing, and that is the lesson there. That is the lesson. Every day you wake up and you're grateful for what you've been blessed with. Today my hair is doing this, I'm going to work with it. I say to clients who come into our space, do not attach yourself to that look. You might have loved it when I did it. You might have loved it when we did it. Do not attach yourself to that look. Enjoy it. Enjoy that look. But when you sit in the chair again, it's going to be another look. Because when you lock up your hair, the way we lock our clients' hair, oh, I like the fluff, I like the fuzz, I like the way my hair is forming. Yep, that's great. And then it changes. And then it goes big, and then it goes small, and then it goes loose, it goes long, it goes short. It changes. From the time you sit in the chair, it's all cropped up. When we pull it through, it gets longer. Be open to change. Don't get caught up in short-term gain. Don't get caught up in a superficial idea of what is beautiful. What is beautiful is self-acceptance, ownership of your situation and your hair, and making the best of it, and learning to be resourceful. And that is it. And it's really, really important for people to understand that. So that's why we work in the way we work and we do what we do, because ultimately it's about our African hair. And it's a lot of energy when you work with somebody who has the struggle with their hair and issues with their curl pattern. I cannot own your insecurity. We cannot own your issues with your hair. We cannot own the fact that somebody told you they liked your weave straight look then and they don't like your African hair. That is not our responsibility to service the superficial perception of other people of what is beautiful. What our job is to encourage your hair to grow in its natural state. And in its natural state, it might be fully like one of those 100% shrunken hair. That is our job, to show you that's what your hair is doing. But if you're somebody who wants to cancel out that natural hair consultative work that we do, i.e. you want to weave it, you want to cover it, you don't want to accept your hair, then this wouldn't be the space for you. This wouldn't be the energy for you to follow, because ultimately we are truly about celebrating the blessings you have and the way your natural hair grows out of your head. And that is always the focus. Even when you see we work with extensions, It is ultimately to encourage your hair to grow, for the wind to hit your hair, for your hair to feel light and fluffy, for your hair not to be disturbed for over 3 months, so that there's no pulling, and your follicles can rest and they can begin to say, I can work again, I can grow again. Because we're finding 3 years down the line, hair is coming through partings that we thought wouldn't come through. So we recognize it takes a long time. You cannot abuse your hair and pull on your hair and try and match superficial concepts of beauty for like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and then in a year or two you expect recovery. Recovery takes time. And what's meant to happen is, when you spot hair loss in someone's hair, as a consultant and a specialist, you need to leave that area alone. You need to not try and pull it into the style. You need to explain to the client, this part needs to be taken care of. You need to leave it, just oil it a bit, massage it and let it recover. But when you go in and you poke and you pull and you prod, and that hair is trying to recover from something like postpartum or traction alopecia, and you're there pulling, it's only going to lead to full traction alopecia and more hair loss. And once hair loss has started in one place, it travels. Something happens, I don't understand the science behind it, but the follicle weakens around and then it moves around. And you need to pay attention to your hair and make sure you're clear on the intention of the person whose chair you sit in. And so I'm doing this